Hi, welcome to Record Time. Record Time is a weekly Akashic experience where we explore simple yet mysterious questions through the lens of the Akashic Records. Today's topic is on sharing creative work. And we've discussed this topic sort of in the past, but it feels relevant to discuss it again. So, if you are someone who has a practice, a creative practice, where you regularly share creative work, you might experience moments where you're scared to share your work. And this goes for people even who don't have a regular creative practice. Those who make something and want to share it, but then feel scared to share it. And that fear is it's often around, oh, this might be bad, or I feel like this is bad. And if you share regularly, that feels like it would be even more present, because now you have things to look back on. You have this body of work that you're building, and you're naturally gonna compare what you're making now to what you've already made. And you might think, oh, this is bad, right? This isn't up to par, so I can't share this. I don't want to share this. I'd rather just skip this time. I'd rather just not show this one, and I'll show the next one when it's good. And so there's this temptation of only showing your work, only sharing your work when it's good. And that's understandable, because it's scary to show work that you think is bad, because you don't want the criticism and almost like the shame of showing bad work. And you don't want to sully your reputation. If you have so much good work and you suddenly show something that's not really up to par, that's going to be weird. It won't belong. It'll feel odd. And I certainly feel this very regularly. And it's often difficult to, share something that you're really uncertain of. And so this kind of situation is what we'll be posing to the Akashic Records for their wisdom and insight. So as I tune in, feel free to close your eyes if it's safe and accessible, and to come into a receptive state, a relaxed state, so you can receive the energetic transmission that goes along with the words that I'm sharing. They're saying if you only share your good work, you risk never sharing anything again. Ooh, that sounds so intense. And it is. That's pretty extreme. If you only share your good work, you risk never sharing anything again. And that rings as so true to me. I can feel how true that is, as much as, we don't want to hear it. It's true. If you put this standard on yourself where you make something and then you judge it before you share it, you're building your own fear every time you do that. You're making a mountain out of a molehill every time. And it's only going to get bigger, because if you skip sharing your work once because you think it's bad, then the next time you go to share it, that pressure is greater than it was before. Because now you've kind of set a precedent of like, oh, it's okay to skip sharing something when I think it's bad, not when it is bad, because we don't know if it's bad. And anyway, there is no good or bad. Everything is neutral. And yet they acknowledge that, yeah, we can feel when our work is good and we can feel when it's clear. And it's not always going to be at the same level, right? To us, we're going to perceive it differently. But every time you skip sharing your work because you think it's bad, and only you think it's bad because no one else has seen it, so we don't know what anyone else thinks, you are building pressure inside of you. And eventually that fear, that pressure is going to be so great that you just won't share anything. And what a tragedy that would be. That just feels so sad that we would all be missing out on wonderful work, incredible work, thoughtful work, heartfelt work, because it's being withheld out of fear. And they're saying, imagine how many paintings we've never seen. Imagine how many songs we've never heard. How many books we will never read because people were too scared to share their bad work. So their advice, their loving advice, is to share your work, not just even when you think it's bad, but especially when you think it's bad. If you can get into the practice of sharing your work when you think it's bad, you will build such immense courage, such immense resilience, and such great self-acceptance through that practice. When you share your work when you think it's bad and when you know it's bad, you are sending yourself a signal that it is okay, that I am brave enough to show this work even when it's bad. I am resilient enough to come back again next time after a piece of bad work has come through. I'm resilient enough to take any criticism or judgment that may come my way. And I accept myself enough, so sweetly and wholly, that I will love myself even though this work happens to not be my best. Those are the things that you're cultivating every time you share work that you feel is bad. And they want to leave us with this image. If all of this work, they're saying, they've given us this image before where they say, imagine a well, an infinite well of inspiration, of creativity, of life energy inside you. It starts in your mouth and it just keeps going, and it keeps going down through your whole body, into the ground, through the earth, all the way down to the core, past the core, continuing through the body of the earth, coming out the other side, and just going forever into infinite space. That is the well of creativity that lies within you. And now imagine that deep well. When you make something, when you share something, when you create something, imagine it's like water or energy. You can see it as almost like a glittering, sparkling energy coming out of your mouth. Every time you make something, this energy, this creative force is coming out of you. And if you judge it before you let it out, it's like closing your mouth and putting a stopper in your mouth, and you're building pressure in your throat. Imagine that. If something is being spoken out of you or coming out of your mouth, and you stop it, imagine how much pressure that would create. And it feels disgusting. What was once beautiful and effortless is now disgusting. And they've said this before. Don't let it rot inside you. Don't let your work, don't let your creativity, don't let your gifts rot inside of you. But if you stop them from coming out, they have no choice but to rot. They need to come out of you to exist, to be, to stay fresh. But if it stays inside of you and it can't come out, all of that stuff, all that pressure, I'm like disgusted as I'm describing this. It's just building inside of you. It has nowhere to go. And so it will rot. There's nowhere for it to go. It needs to come out. So they're saying those gifts will rot inside of you if you don't let them out. And also, if you put a stopper in your mouth when you think something is bad, everything, the infinity that is beneath that, is now blocked. But if you just let that one bad thing out, everything else will come out too. So if you stop the stream of infinite creative force because you think it's bad, and only because you think it's bad, because you're scared, you're blocking all the potential beautiful work, all the potential good work that's going to come too, that's going to follow it inevitably. And that's what they're saying is, if you create regularly enough, if you share your work, if you create, if you're a creator, which all of us are, you will inevitably make good work and bad work. That's just how it is. And if you do the math, half of whatever you create, of all the things you create, half of it will be below average, because that's the definition of average. But you can't stop it. You can't stop yourself from letting the bad work out, because then you're also preventing the good work from coming out. So they're going to leave us with that image and with the hope. Their prayer to us is that we will continue to create, that we will find the strength, the courage, the resilience within us to share our work, even when it's bad. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Namaste.